What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show on this Friday. Oh, we got some good topics today. I like the topics today. You know, sometimes I look at the topics and I might lie to you guys. I might have to say, got a lot of good topics. Sometimes I got to sell it a little bit. No, we got some good topics this morning. Looking forward to not just talking about what the Lakers were able to do yesterday, of course. Very busy weekend for the Lakers. Now, they only got one game, but this is as big as it gets. Lakers got the Denver Nuggets coming up tomorrow. That's a big-time matchup. I mean, it does not get any bigger than tomorrow's matchup, Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. So it's going to be a fun weekend, fun Saturday for everybody as we sit here today on a Friday. We'll try to get the weekend started off right. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Hopefully everybody is getting ready for the weekend. And I'm going to give everyone a quick rundown of what we got going on. For those that are hanging out here in the chat, thank you for being here. And I'll try to get to as many comments as I can today. So cheers to you. Cheers. A little coffee action here. Should I go get a coffee later today for the member show? Because I could pull up. I'm in Pasadena today. I can go to a specific coffee shop. I can go grab a cup of coffee and a pastry, and then we could just all sit there together and then do our member show at 10 a.m. I think that's my plan. I think my plan is when I'm done here, I'm going to go to a coffee shop. We'll live stream from the coffee shop. I think that's the plan. That's what we're doing today. All right, that's what we're doing. I just made that decision right now, an executive decision. It just went through all the board of directors and through HR. Everything just went through HR. Here's our plan for today. Here's what we got going on for the show. Lakers win in LeBron's return. Of course they do. They're playing the Chicago Bulls. No problem there. Obviously, nobody's going to be too impressed by the Lakers win. Not that big of a deal. They beat the Chicago Bulls. And I think what was really, really interesting post-game was a lot of the conversation about LeBron needing to sacrifice the pecking order, if you call it, how important it's going to be for LeBron to kind of take a step back so Luka and AR can do their thing. It's going to be a big topic the rest of the season. And if AR isn't delivering, people will say one thing. If he is delivering, if LeBron's taking too many shots. So I got some good sound bites from JJ Redick after the game as well. I think I got something from LeBron as well. So we'll play a couple of those clips, but a big part of the conversation today is going to be LeBron sacrificing. Now, listen, you can't judge that Lakers against the Chicago Bulls, but where you can judge it is when the Lakers take on Denver tomorrow, when they take on Houston for 2 games next week, when they're at Orlando, at Miami. This might be one of the tougher stretches for the Lakers they've had in a while. Their next 5 games are all against solid teams in the NBA. Not great. It's not against the top 3 teams in the NBA, but against a lot of really good teams. Third in the Western Conference, Brian Windhorst has a comment or on Get Up. He's got his opinion and his thoughts why third place in the Lakers is very, very important if they're going to go make a run. I know what people are going to say. Lakers were third last year. You're not wrong when you say that, by the way. But I do feel like there's something to it. So we'll talk about how the Lakers have kind of shot up the standings and how all it takes is 1 or 2 losses in a row and you fall all the way back. You know who has not gone anywhere through all this? Phoenix is still hanging around. So it's not about even just how good in the standings can you be? Can you grab the number 3 seed? You're also trying to avoid being in the play-in tournament. That's still realistic. I'm telling you, if Lakers lose 2 of 3 or 3 of 4, they could be in that number 7 spot. So third in the Western Conference, that's where the Lakers are sitting right now. Still everybody obviously very, very close. Denver had a big win yesterday at San Antonio, even though they were down, I want to say 17 at some point, and no Wemby yesterday. So they were still able to win that game. MVP chatter. Should Luka be in the chatter? Should Luka be more in the conversation? I'm going to pull up a little bit later where the MVP, NBA.com. You know, here's one reason why I think anytime you have a team that's having tremendous success, then I have no problem if a player, the best player on that team, is really kind of the favorite to win the MVP. The problem with this season's been a little bit all over the place, a lot of injuries. I can make cases for a couple guys in the Eastern Conference, but should Luka at least be in that conversation? I feel like nobody has talked about Luka being in the MVP conversation. One of the funniest things I saw, and I actually listened to it this morning. Yesterday, Lakers are playing Chicago. Buzelis, who's part of the Chicago Bulls, I mentioned it in the postgame show. I'm like, why would anyone talk ish to Luka Doncic during an NBA? Do you not know what Luka does to those that motivate him? And a lot of these greats do it. I got to play Buzelis' clip post game. It's freaking hilarious. It is really, really funny. And I would just say, if I got a scouting report and I'm going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, you know what I'm putting in that scouting report? Don't talk shit to Luka. Not a good idea. Buzelis is a perfect example of it. And Buzelis postgame was like a kid that basically was like, yeah, I made a mistake. And my father had to discipline me because that's kind of what Luka did to him yesterday. Big game I mentioned versus Denver tomorrow. So we'll get a little bit into that game. I mean, that game's got a lot of implications. Saturday night, this is going to be a game. Obviously, LeBron plays in, so there's going to be even more chatter about it. If they win that game, if they lose that game, tomorrow's going to be a really fun game. Erik Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo talked yesterday, both kind of defending the 83-point game performance. I want to play that because I still think there's some more conversation there. I will say this before we even play those clips. Anytime you have that much defense towards something, there's probably some guilt in it right out the gate, but we'll continue that conversation. NBA news, NBA standings, and then we're going to get out of here. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you guys being here. Member show coming up at 10 a.m. today. I already made the decision. We're taking the member show this morning to a coffee shop. I already know which coffee shop too. I already know which coffee shop in Pasadena. That's got it all figured out in my head. Only problem is this coffee shop always has a line, so I got to get there in time to then be seated before the show starts at 10 a.m. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments before we get started. It is time to accept the fact that the Lakers look like a different team when LeBron is in the lineup and not for the good. Okay, we'll hit on that. No problem. We'll have that conversation. I will say this, that yesterday, and obviously this is going to be a main topic, I thought LeBron was great yesterday. I thought he was wildly unselfish. 18, 7, and 7 is just like an ideal stat line. What'd he take? 12, 13 shots? I didn't have a problem with that at all of what LeBron did yesterday. Tomorrow's a big test. If we beat Denver, we have arrived. I'll say this. You kind of have to beat Denver tomorrow. It's a home game. You're coming off a loss at Denver. They still got a couple players out. I think Peyton Watson's out. I got no idea what's going to happen to Aaron Gordon, but I know he didn't play in the last game. Were they holding on to Aaron Gordon? Were they not? I have no idea. I can't answer that question for you. But I think, I don't know if they've arrived, but I think if you want to be a top 3 team or top 4 team in the Western Conference, you're playing the Denver Nuggets, you're at home, you need to win tomorrow. If you don't win tomorrow, now you're starting to look back again and you're starting to say to yourself, okay, well, if you lose tomorrow, now you got 2 in a row coming up against Houston. You got Orlando, you got Miami, both on the road as well. It could put the Lakers in a tough position. LeBron been sacrificing. All right, I got a lot of people that got something to say. And these are some really, really good comments. So we're going to get into it. Save this one for me too. Stop hating on Bam. You mean stop giving an opinion on Bam? Is that what you mean? We can have an opinion. Okay. All right, let's get the show started. We'll come back to that. Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. I want to play the clips first. It's like an appetizer. Let me get a little bit of the apps. I'm looking here before I get to the main dish. All right, so Lakers handle business against Chicago yesterday. Again, no one's here trying to make a big deal about the Lakers beating Chicago. They did what they needed to do. I said it in the postgame show yesterday. Obviously, they're going to have to play a lot better than they did yesterday on the defensive side of the ball if they're going to beat Denver, if they're going to go on this stretch here where they play 5 good teams in a row, teams that are also playing well. Take away the Houston Rockets, they're a little bit all over the place. So Lakers obviously got a lot of work to do, but beating Chicago I did think was important, and we can start moving on from it. Here's the conversation that I think comes from yesterday's game. Conversation, and it was also walking into the game. What have we been talking about for the last week about the Lakers? The last week, the conversation has been, well, LeBron's out, and here's a stat last week. Lakers were playing the Knicks on ABC. That Sunday afternoon game. And ABC throws the stat up that says the Lakers 9-2 when Luka and AR play without LeBron. I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna have some legs to it. So a lot of the conversation has been, can the Lakers be the best version of themselves if LeBron is in the lineup, or if LeBron is the second option, or if LeBron's taking 18 shots a game, however you kind of want to describe it. All right, so LeBron's been out for a couple of games. He came back yesterday. What did it look like yesterday when LeBron was in there? Tough to really tell against Chicago. Lakers have now won 7 of their last 8. They've been playing good basketball, 4 wins in a row. But when I walked away from the game, I think the most important thing to me is LeBron came back, and I don't think it took anything away from Luka or Austin Reeves. I've tried making this point a couple of different times, and I hope you guys understand this when I say it, and it's no disrespect to LeBron. But 1-2 right now has to be Luka and AR. And part of the reason why 1-2's got to be Luka and AR is because those 2 players, they can't really play any differently. You can't all of a sudden ask Luka, hey, can you go play off the ball and be the third option of the team? Number one, that's an idiotic idea. And number 2, the answer is no, Luka can't do that. AR has shown I got to be on the ball. I got to have moments where I can cook. I got to have moments where I have the option of driving the ball, shooting the ball, getting to the free throw line, trying to facilitate. By the way, AR, 15 assists in his last 2 games. You guys probably hear me talk about this a lot. I harp a lot on the assists because I think Austin Reeves is a critical playmaker for the Lakers as well. Here's why the Lakers need LeBron as the third option, is because LeBron can do everything. He can't do it as good as he used to do. He's not the same 35-year-old or 37-year-old LeBron James. It's kind of crazy to say, but it's the truth. He's a 41-year-old version of himself. And it's clear that if the Lakers are going to be the best version of themselves, LeBron now has to be the one that sacrifices the most, because clearly for the Lakers, it ain't going to come from Luka. And if it comes from AR, I think it hurts the Lakers. All right, Luka yesterday, 51, 10, and 9. Do you think he had to sacrifice his game at all? He had 31 field goal attempts. He hit 9 threes. His first 50-point game, by the way, as a Laker. All right, Austin Reeves, he had 30 yesterday, 37 and 5, got 20 field goal attempts, got 7 3-point attempts, was 4 of 7. Luka and Austin did not have to sacrifice yesterday. And we're going to get more examples of when LeBron's in the lineup, when they start playing good teams, where it looks good, where they struggle, whatever the case is. But LeBron clearly yesterday took a back seat for the Lakers and didn't take a shot actually in the entire first quarter. Had some very unselfish passes. Let me keep that ball swinging. I could take the 3. I could make 1 extra pass to AR. I'm going to make that 1 extra pass to AR. So I thought LeBron tried fitting in yesterday perfectly. And like I said, he's going to have to be the one that sacrifices, and he's going to have to be the one that shows it's Luka, it's AR, and then it's me. Yesterday, he had the 4th highest field goal attempts on the team because Ayton had 23 and 10, had 13 field goal attempts. I mean, what happened yesterday, by the way, is wildly unheard of. There was 137 points from the Lakers starters yesterday. That's the most absurd stat that I've ever heard. Only 5 points from the Lakers bench. They had 142 points total. Chicago is not a good example, but at least you get a little bit of a warm-up game before you get to the, obviously to the key game against Denver coming up tomorrow. Let me play something here for you guys real quick. JJ Redick yesterday was addressing Actually, this is kind of an interesting question. He's talking about if him and LeBron spoke during LeBron's 3-game absence, about how LeBron could impact the game when he eventually would return. Listen to this, because this is not just a conversation that I'm having here on the podcast or that a couple of people are having on, shows or whatever the case is. It's also a conversation, it sounds like, within the organization, within the coaching staff, of how they can try to figure out a way to make these three work together. But I think most importantly is figuring out not the pecking order, but what's the best version for the Lakers if they're going to have any sustained success for the rest of the regular season in the postseason? Take a listen to JJ.
LeBron and I, we talk. We had a great conversation over the last couple of days. I think, again, he wants to do everything possible to help this team win, and he understands the importance of making sure Luka and AR can be at their best, and that's incredible of him. It speaks a lot to just how much he cares about this team and his teammates, and how much he wants to win.
He understands the importance of making sure Luka and AR can be at their best. Isn't that kind of the whole point of this conversation that we're having? At the end of the day, if the Lakers are, you got to kind of ask yourself this question. For the Lakers to be the best version of themselves, then they need Luka and AR to be the best versions of themselves. I don't think anybody's too worried about Luka, but I think there is genuine concern if AR doesn't have a good game. If he has 15, 16 points, I feel like the Lakers are going to lose that game. And statistically for the Lakers, the fact that they're now 19-3 when AR scores 20 or more points, you have a little bit of kind of a blueprint here of how you try to stack up some W's. If I'm the Denver Nuggets coming into tomorrow's game, I'm throwing everything to slow down AR, everything, because I understand how critical of a piece AR is for the Lakers. And if AR struggles, or if he's not having the type of game that he needs to, then there's a good chance that my team is going to win. But I thought that JJ quote, talking about LeBron, he understands the importance of making sure Luka and AR could be at their best. And then LeBron could say, all right, well, what's the best version of myself in that scenario? And I think yesterday's game against a Chicago Bulls team that's not going anywhere, but I think yesterday's game is a good example of, let me be unselfish, let me make that extra pass, let Luka and AR do what they do, and I could walk away with 18, 7, and 7 and be very efficient. And I hope post-game, a lot of people are giving me praise for making giving some sacrifice to this team. The real test is going to come over these next 5 games. Because if Luka and AR are cooking and they still lose, we'll have a different conversation. If AR goes back to scoring 16 points and LeBron gets 20 field goal attempts and AR gets 12 field goal attempts, that's a different conversation. So I think what we're looking at more than anything else is, here's where we are. Here's where we feel like the Lakers are the best version of themselves. Here's where we feel like the Lakers struggle. And I think with all that in mind, the Lakers obviously have to keep making adjustments. Let me play one more clip. You heard JJ Redick give his thoughts. Let's let LeBron give his opinion of what he noticed when he was out. And like I even said this when LeBron was out. Maybe it's beneficial that LeBron is on the sidelines for those few games so he could see how the Lakers were playing against good teams. Again, against Minnesota and New York, those were 2 really solid wins. The Lakers were phenomenal on the defensive side as well. Yesterday, they weren't. And I don't know, what you want to apply that to, but I think the Lakers just they tried coasting a little bit yesterday, which happens all the time in the NBA. Here's LeBron, and then we'll start looking at your comments. Take a listen.
I just think we play good basketball, obviously. Before even tonight, we won our last 6 out of 7. So, well, just the previous 2 games, but we've just been playing complementary basketball. Like I said, it's been AR and Luka has been obviously offensively been magical and dynamic. But, the rest of the guys, the energy and the effort, DA has been unbelievable as of late. Obviously, M-Dot was out tonight, but Marcus has been great. Everybody was getting an opportunity, just been playing at a high level. And like you said, that Knick game and Minnesota game was just a bit of it.
All right, so we'll see what happens the rest of the way, but obviously LeBron, I do think is the one that's going to have to be making some sacrificing here as the show rolls, or as the show rolls on, as the season rolls on, as we get a little bit towards now what we call the final stretch of the season, because that's really where we are. We're under a month before the season ends. So these last 30 days is obviously going to determine a lot. Got a lot of comments that I want to get into. I know a lot of people want to give their opinions and their thoughts on where the Lakers are sitting in this topic specifically. So I do want to get into it. I do want to get everybody's opinion on what they've seen these last couple of days and what to look forward to throughout the weekend. Before we do so, let's give a shout out to one of our partners. I like to call him, he's kind of like the OG. He's the OG when it comes to our partnerships right now. Brad Wallace of the Wallace Firm texting me this morning. Slee, you looking at the standings here? Third place here in the Western Conference. I don't have to tell you guys, Brad Wallace is a big Laker fan and obviously a big supporter of the channel. But what I do want to tell you guys is he is an injury attorney that can help anybody in the state of California. The main point I always want to get across is this is a very kind of daunting, intimidating, you don't know where to start when you're having this type of conversation in regards to a legal matter. Start with Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Let them kind of guide you and point you in the right direction. That's the only thing that I want to walk away from this is just know if something goes down, if something happens, you're not sure what to do, go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Once you get to that website, it's an absolutely free consultation. Put in your information and somebody from the Wallace Firm will reach out to you. Brad Wallace and his team will help you. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If anybody wants to send me a personal email and say, Al, I've heard you talk about Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Here's the situation that I'm in, or a family member or a friend. Can you make an introduction? I'm happy to make an introduction. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. That's wallacewins.com/Sliwa. All right, let's keep rolling here as we continue. I got a lot of comments here lined up. Let's get to some of these comments here. Got a couple supers here. Let's start with a few of these supers. LeBron been sacrificing. He's taking less shots out of the big three. He's taking 15 less shots than ball hogging Luka. How much more sacrifice do you want? Whatever it takes. Yeah, whatever it takes. By the way, there's also going to be sacrifice from other players as well. I do think there are times where Luka doesn't have it going and he's got to be smarter with the basketball. And I do think Luka, there's going to be moments where it's Luka's responsibility to get AR the ball. So it's not all on LeBron. But here's what happened. You had a couple games in a row where the Lakers, without LeBron James, beat some really good teams. And their record got to 10-2 or 11-2, whatever it is now, without LeBron James in that lineup. And I think what we've all kind of noticed through this season is this isn't about LeBron being selfish. This isn't about, I don't think LeBron's selfish. I don't think LeBron's game is selfish. Naturally, I think he is one of those players that says, well, I try to make the right play. LeBron, I don't think is a selfish basketball player, and I think his history will tell you exactly that. But I think what LeBron is, he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and there is going to be a little bit of like, no, what do you mean Austin Reeves should be in the pecking order before I am? I think it's an adjustment. I think for LeBron and his game and where he is at this stage of his career, mentally and physically, there's an adjustment to LeBron. And you're saying to yourself, all right, in order for the Lakers, what's their best chance of winning? That's why the LeBron sacrifice is coming in. And this isn't all about offense. There's going to be times where we're complaining about all three of these players playing together on the defensive side of the ball. The one thing I don't want people to take away from the conversation that we're having here, the one thing that I don't want people to take away is that I'm saying that LeBron James is a problem. I'm not saying LeBron's a problem. What I'm trying to tell you is there's a certain style of basketball the Lakers have to play to be the best version of themselves. And in order for them to be the best version of themselves, there does have to be some sacrificing from some of these other players. Is there time Luka's a ball hog? Absolutely, no question about it, especially when his shot's not going. Now, yesterday's a different story. If his shot is falling, he's playing well, all that stuff, then there's not really much of a conversation. There's nothing you could do about Luka. He's dropping 51, 10, and 9, still having almost double-digit assists. So There are times where I think Luka's got to sacrifice as well. There are times where Luka's got to be smarter and say, how do I get AR involved? But it's more about the conversation of what's the recipe to win. And that recipe, it feels like, is Luka, AR, LeBron make the sacrifice from there because LeBron's got the capability of doing it. Nick, I appreciate the super, and I think it's a really good conversation. I think that's a fair conversation, but I'm not trying to take away from LeBron. I'm trying to adjust what the Lakers need to do in order to win. All right, let's see what we got here. Luka, one tech away from a suspension. Now he is more focused on playing, and it affects the team in a good way. I said this yesterday. I love Luka with 15 technical fouls. I think the best version of Luka is 15 techs. He knows he can't get another one, so all of a sudden he's not complaining anymore. He's not looking at the referees. I mean, he kind of walks a little bit of a fine line, but I think he understands, right, I can't be as demonstrative as he typically is. And I think it benefits the Lakers, and I think it benefits Luka's game. If you got this long leash and you know you could say whatever you want and nobody in the organization is going to say anything to you or reprimand you or whatever the case is, Luka kind of has clearly taken advantage of that. But if all of a sudden you hold off on Luka for a second and you say, well, now it's not up to us. You get one more technical foul, you're hurting your team, you're hurting your squad. If he got a technical foul yesterday and he was missing the game against the Denver Nuggets, I'd have been on the post-game show last night. I'd have been on this morning show talking about how selfish Luka is. And it wouldn't have just been me. Obviously, it would have been every national platform, local platform, the entire thing. Everyone would have been talking about how selfish he is. By the way, he could still do that. He could get a tech on Saturday, and then he can't play in the game on Monday against the Houston Rockets. He's walking a fine line the rest of the way. Do I think Luka's going to get his 16th technical foul if I'm putting money on it? I would say yes. I think he's going to get his 16th. But in these few games, he's had 15 technical fouls. Kind of like watching Luka play more. Please stop the narrative of Luka and AR. By the way, franchise Laker, thank you for the super. I appreciate that. Let's get this one here. Please stop the narrative of Luka and AR being one-dimensional. You couldn't be more wrong. I think they have less. First off, they are not more dynamic than what LeBron has been and still can be at this stage of his career of how he can play multiple different roles. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Luka and AR being one-dimensional, but both of those guys need the ball in their hands. And it doesn't mean they can't go out there. What you shouldn't take one-dimensional as is, well, they can only score from themselves. Of course, Luka can go out and dish out 12, 15 assists. I've been talking about how I love one of my favorite things about AR, and I think it's underutilized, is AR has the ability to facilitate for others. I love seeing AR in that 7, 8 assist total, somewhere around there, because I actually think that's the best version of himself. What I mean by one-dimensional is LeBron doesn't have to have the ball to be still be a very effective player on the floor. That's what I mean by one-dimensional. LeBron has take the ball out of Luka's hands. Is he still the same player? He's not. Take the ball out of AR's hands. Is he still the same player? He's not. Take the ball out of LeBron's hands. He can still be a very, very effective player. That's what I mean by one-dimensional. It doesn't mean Luka can't do other things like grab rebounds. He can do that. Dish out 10 dimes. He could do that. Play screen and roll, throw lobs to Jackson Hayes, and doesn't mean he can't. He can do all that stuff. One-dimensional, what I mean by that is it starts with him having the ball. LeBron doesn't have to start with him having the ball. It's a good comment. Just think you're wrong. Other than that, it's a phenomenal comment. But I think you're wrong. I think LeBron clearly is the player that can put on multiple hats. LeBron is the best third option in the league. Could be. I mean, I question that. You know, I think there's other players right now. If you told me the Oklahoma City Thunder are 100% healthy, Chad Holmgren would be a phenomenal third option, right? In San Antonio, there might be a rotating list of guys that are playing both sides of the ball. They can be phenomenal on defense. They could be phenomenal on offense, but that might be rotating. Who else has got some really, really good third players? Now that the Celtics get Tatum back, you know, are you talking about Derek White? I'm just, you know, I'm thinking here off the top of my head. There's a lot of really, really good championship quality teams out there that have third options. And by the way, if you're going to be a championship team, you need a You need a third option, a fourth option. You need obviously a lot of different options. All right, let's keep going out here. Let me get a few more comments in, and then I got to get into this. Guys, we got topics here I got to get into. Stop with your good comments. Check AR, Luka, Smart, steal numbers the last 6 games. All right, I'm going to have Erik find that stat, and then he's going to pull it up for us. Not even pull it up. He's just going to give me that number. He'll tally the stats. Now, Marcus Smart didn't obviously play in this last game. I know Luka's had some crazy defensive stats as well. He's got kind of in a weird way, he's got this ability to have his hands all over the place. Booker 70, Murray 57, Brunson 80, AR only 35. Don't know really what the narrative on that one is, but I'm going to keep that one there. I appreciate the super from you as well. All right, let's get started here. Not let's get started, but let's keep going here with some of the other topics. And I know there's some other supers I'm going to get into. And even if it's not a super, don't worry about that. Whether you guys are able to throw in a super or not, no problem at all. I appreciate you guys just being here. I just ask everybody subscribes. LeBron should be the Lakers' 6th man hero. Leslie, you mean that they are more ball dominant? Yes, they are more ball dominant. They need to be more ball dominant. Lakers 3rd in the Western Conference. I'm going to play a clip here for everybody real quick. So yesterday, because the Rockets didn't play, the Lakers moved in front of the Rockets. Now, listen, we know the standings. These are moving on a night in, night out basis. 3 through 6 right now is separated by 1 game. 1 game, that's it. And by the way, the Phoenix Suns are right behind you. So the Phoenix Suns are right in the absolute thick of things as well. So the Phoenix Suns, Lakers are 2 games in front of the Phoenix Suns for the number 7 spot. So right now, 3 through 7 are separated by 2 games. And all of a sudden, Phoenix starting to win some games again. Phoenix, by the way, they didn't go anywhere. They're still a good team in the Western Conference. The problem with them is they got injured. Devin Booker was out for a number of games. Dylan Brooks, obviously still out. I don't know, at least a couple more weeks, whatever the case is. I'm sure they're just trying to get him back for the playoffs or maybe the last week or 2 before the regular season ends. Phoenix did nothing wrong. They just got injured. So Phoenix doesn't get injured. They're probably sitting in the 5th or the 6th spot or something along those lines. So right now in the Western Conference, 3 through 7 is separated by just 2 games. There was a clip here I want to play from Brian Windhorst. So we're going to pop this clip up. And the conversation is about just how important it is for the Lakers to stay at this number 3 seed or how important it's going to be. And I know what people are going to say, Lakers were 3rd last year. Okay, that's fine. But, I don't know if you could apply last year to this year. Let's take a quick listen to Brian Windhorst, who was on Get Up.
You're looking at a way for the Lakers to have a playoff run. It's going to be to get that 3. Number 1, you'd have home court in the first round, which would, look, they had home court in the first round last year and lost. You got to still play good basketball. But home court in the first round of what's probably going to be a brutal series. And you get on the same side of the bracket, probably as the Spurs. I have no idea that's going to go that way. And if you're choosing to be on the side of the Spurs or the Thunder, you're probably going to pick the Spurs because of their inexperience. And overall, they're a little bit not as deep as the Thunder. So that's where they want to go. The next 3 games, Peter, huge for the Lakers. Home against the Nuggets, who had a huge win last night. And then they leave on a 6-game road trip. The first 2 games of that trip in Houston. Teams all around them wanting to beat them. We're going to know a lot about the Lakers after the next 10 days. We're looking at a way for the.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I think that setup is perfect. I think he makes a lot of great points in regards to wanting to be in the San Antonio Spurs bracket. I'd rather be in the Spurs bracket. And I think what he said about, look, I get it. I completely understand what people are going to say. They're going to say, Al, they were in the 3rd spot last year. I do think this is a better team than last season. I do think they have more size that if they went up against Minnesota in the first round, certainly think they'd have a better shot of beating them. I do think the Lakers have had more time to play together. Marcus Smart being a part of a playoff run. I would feel a lot more confident about the Lakers going into the playoffs. Again, no one's trying to say the Lakers are going to go make a run and represent the Western Conference, but if you are looking at the standings and if you are looking at potential matchups, I think he's right about the third place in the Western Conference. Here's the one thing that the San Antonio Spurs don't have that the Oklahoma City Thunder do. The Spurs are inexperienced as of this moment in regards to being in the playoffs. You know how many playoff games Victor Wembanyama has played? 0. He's never played a playoff game. So as great as the Spurs have been, maybe the Spurs sweep the Lakers for all I know. Maybe the Spurs end up getting to the NBA Finals and they win an NBA championship. By the way, at this point, nobody would be shocked by that. The Spurs have been phenomenal. But there is something about let's just say the Lakers ended up the number 5 seed and they got Denver in the first round, or they got Houston in the first round. So now they don't have home court. And if you beat them, then you got OKC waiting for you in the second round. That's a wrap. The season is over. And there's no obviously guarantee or lock that you're getting out of the first round. So I do think that 3 spot is big. I think that 3 spot could be the difference of the Lakers playing into May and potentially making some noise in the second round. Either way, I love what he said about this next 10 days will say a lot about the Lakers, and I think it will. Now, the last 10 days has also been if you thought these next 10 days are going to say a lot, I thought these past 10 days also said a lot about the Lakers. They're winning games. There was a quote here that Zach Lowe said. He said, honestly, I think it's time to give the Lakers a little credit because they're just so much focus on Luka's antics, on the LeBron-Luka fit, which has not been very good. And yet here they are. They just don't leave the playoff conversation. The point is that when the Lakers do lose a couple games in a row, it's very loud. Everybody likes jumping all over them. There's a lot of negativity typically around the Lakers. Even when they do something good, it's like, well, when LeBron comes back, it's LeBron's fault. There's a narrative around the Lakers for everybody. It's constantly a conversation, and not all of it is positive. And I think what Zach Lowe is trying to say here is, as the dust settles and you're under a month left into the season, they're on pace to win over 50 games this year. Luka's playing MVP level type of basketball. All of a sudden, their defense is top 12 in the NBA over this stretch of 20 plus games. They are 3rd in the Western Conference. They have beat a couple teams over 500. We'll find out more about them again, like I said, over these next 10 games, which I think is very fair. But the Lakers have kind of found a way, whether quietly or in the background, they've put themselves in a decent position. Could they lose a few in a row and the sky starts falling again and they're back to the number 6 seed? Of course they can. And if that's the case, then we'll address it as it happens. But as we all kind of sit here right now, it's an impressive run. 16 games over 500, by the way. That's the highest mark for the Lakers all season. I think they got to 15 games over 500 a couple of times and they lose a couple in a row. But now at 16 games over 500, this is the best winning percentage that the Lakers have had all season. So good stuff there from Brian Windhorst. And I agree with Zach Lowe on that. Hey, you could say whatever you want about the Lakers, but when the dust does settle, they've put themselves in a pretty good position. And we'll see what the Lakers are able to obviously do over the next 30 days. All right. I want to kind of update everybody because there's an MVP ladder here. And I want to see if there's a conversation. By the way, to go back to what somebody said about the steals. In the month of March, Austin has 9 steals in 7 games. Marcus Smart has 14 steals in 7 games. And Luka has 15 steals in 7 games. So you have Marcus Smart and Luka averaging about 2 steals a game. And then you got Austin about, let's call it 1.2, 1.3, something like that, over his last handful of games as well. So somebody had a comment there, and we got some of those stats of some of those players being a little bit more effective on the defensive side of the ball. Yesterday, there was no defense, so nobody's got a BS about that one. Definitely not enough defense from the Lakers yesterday. I got the latest in the MVP chatter that on NBA.com, and then I got a freaking hilarious conversation from Buzelis from the Chicago Bulls. Before we talk about that, let's give a shout out to one of our partners. So we got a date here, and next week I'm going to start leaning into this a little bit more. About, let's call it 3 weeks away. Lakers got a game coming up against the Oklahoma City Thunder on April 2nd at OKC. It's a Thursday night game at 6:30. I'm going to do a live post-game show from Harrah's Resort SoCal. By next week, I should have details of I think we're going to get close to about 25 to 30% off on room rates for that night. And I want to get as many Laker fans to come out and watch the game. And I want it to be kind of one of those post-game shows where I'm going to get some listeners involved. But we're definitely going to do our post-game show from there. And I want to get as many people involved as possible. I've said this about Harrah's Resort SoCal. The date's going to be April 2nd. It's really a beautiful location. Phenomenal resort in North San Diego in the Palomar Mountains, as I mentioned. And they're a great partner that is supporting the channel. I got this here. The reason why I'm putting up some of the rates here, because there's a link in the description where you get 20% off if you use our link. And that's for weekdays. And you could see just how aggressive the pricing is. And you could also obviously see why we're doing that is because we want to take care of our listeners. Shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal. The weather is phenomenal right now. It's a perfect time to go out there. Take the family, take the kids, take your girl, take whatever the case is. It's a perfect time to start booking. Lazy River, Swim Up Bar, Gordon Ramsay's, his phenomenal restaurant, Hell's Kitchen, Rita's Cantina, another great restaurant that overlooks the pool and the Palomar Mountains. You will not be disappointed if you book at Harrah's Resort SoCal between 1 and 2 hours or wherever you are in Southern California. Shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal. More details coming on our live broadcast from Harrah's coming up on April 2nd. So shout out to Harrah's and thank you to everybody for supporting our partners. All right, let's keep rolling here. Keep rolling. I want to pop this up for everybody. Here are the latest odds as far as the MVP ladder. So I'm going to show everybody here where Luka is. And, it's kind of an interesting one. If you'd asked me maybe 2 weeks ago, would I say, hey, should Luka be higher on the list? I'm okay to have hesitation on a player like Luka Doncic because I think a lot of the times what it typically comes down to for me, how's your team doing? How's the team looking? Are you really truly competing for an NBA championship? And I'm not telling you that every MVP candidate is or their team is, but here's the latest one. You got Shea first. Let's keep scrolling here. Shea is number one on that list. Wembanyama number two. By the way, what do both of these individuals have in common? They are both 1 and 2 in the Western Conference, and everybody would say if you had to put your money on it, it's either going to be the Thunder or the San Antonio Spurs that are coming out of the Western Conference. All right, that's 1-2 right there as far as MVP candidates. Let's see the next one. All right, number 3, Nikola Jokic. He just puts up numbers that are absurd. The question for Jokic is, will he end up playing enough games to kind of meet, obviously you got to meet that 65-game threshold. And then here's number 4. Again, this is on NBA.com. This is the latest one. Luka's number 4. So Luka has cracked the top 5. I think the last time they did this, he was number 8. He's starting to put up just some wild numbers. The Lakers have moved up in the standings. They're now number 3. So you obviously got to give some respect for that. Do I think Luka's going to win MVP? No. The only thing I'd like to have is just Luka and more of that MVP chatter. Who's number 5, by the way? Is it Cade? I'm assuming it's Cade. Maybe it's Jalen. Yeah, it's Cade Cunningham. I'd probably have Cade Cunningham higher up that list because of what the Pistons are doing and the fact that they're number 1 in the East. But that's your top 5 list, and that's where Luka's sitting. So is he going to be the MVP? No. Should he be in that MVP conversation? Yes. I do think he should be in that MVP conversation, and we'll leave it at that. I got to play something here real quick, and then I'm going to go back to the comments, and we'll keep rolling with the show. Yesterday postgame, I've said this before about Luka. If I'm the other team, the last thing I'm going to do is run my mouth. And for some reason yesterday, Matas Buzelis decided I'm going to run my mouth at Luka Doncic. And it was just idiotic. Luka then just absolutely torched him, and he absolutely torched the Chicago Bulls. And, ended up having a 51-10-9 game. By the way, his first 50-point performance as a Los Angeles Laker. I need you guys to take a listen to what Buzelis said after the game, because he was asked about this. Luka was asked about it on the other side as well. And Luka just basically said, yeah, it surprised me. I don't know why he was talking to me. I can't believe he said anything to me. So that kind of motivated him. Listen to how funny this clip is. Buzelis is basically like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and learn from that one. Take a listen.
That experience.
What was my take?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say, honestly. He started killing, obviously, when I started talking to him. But I just, as you said, I don't back down from anybody, no matter who you are, And I took on the challenge and didn't execute.
What do you hope to take away from the experience?
Probably not to talk to him.
I don't even know what to say. I just think that's so funny. I mean, he looked so defeated. I don't even know how to put it. He looked like, yeah, I just made a critical mistake for my franchise and my team. And I've said this before, and I've talked about it a lot on the postgame show. I've said that Chris Dunn did it for the Clippers. It was idiotic. It wasn't a smart move. These greats, a lot of these greats in the league, they look for motivation. They want to find a reason. And by the way, you're talking about Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe. A lot of these greats, they look for, can somebody motivate me? Sometimes I see Luka looking at the sidelines because there's a fan that said something and he's like, all right, I got this thing that can work for me because a fan is talking ish about me. Sometimes a referee doesn't make a call and Luka will use that as motivation. And he'll hit a three and he'll kind of, give a glance over at the referee like, that's on you. Buzelis, I just haven't heard somebody look that defeated in a moment where he thought it'd be a good idea to talk. By the way, you saw it the entire game. The moment he started talking, the first thing Lucas said was, you kind of gave him one of these after he hit a bucket, like, go ahead and keep talking. And then after that, Luka just made it absolutely personal against him. That's one of my observations from last night's game that I thought was just freaking hilarious. And this poor guy's post-game presser, I almost felt bad for him. You almost want to put an arm around his shoulder and be like, hey, you got to take some L sometimes. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way. He had to learn the hard way, but I just thought that was freaking hilarious to watch. Obviously, Lakers end up getting the win. And a lot of that, you could give the assist to Buzelis on that one. You could give the assist there. All right, let me get to some of these supers here. We still got to talk about the Lakers and the Nuggets tomorrow. We'll talk specifically about that. I still got a clip I want to play of Erik Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo talking. And then we'll do the NBA weekend preview or the weekend preview, and then we'll call it a day. Let me get to some of these supers here. That's what we got here. Here's John Wayne. I will take Luka hogging the ball because his points affect winning. He is not afraid of the last shot. He accepts responsibility at the postgame, and he still believes his team can win a championship. Well, first off, John, $10, brother. Thank you. I'm doing I got a member show coming up at 10 o'clock. And when I go to the coffee shop that I'm going to a coffee shop. There's a coffee shop out here in Pasadena. By the way, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Pasadena is the best city in LA. Let's get that out there real quick. Okay. It's the best city in Los Angeles. I'm going to a coffee shop called Carr. And they're known for their croissants. So when I'm biting into my croissant during my member show today, having a sip of coffee and talking shop with all the members, thank you, brother. You basically just bought me a coffee and a croissant. So shout out to you. Thank you very much for doing that. Anybody that sent out a super, I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Listen, Luka hogging the ball at this stage of his career at age 26. Can you imagine anybody complaining about LeBron hogging the ball at age 26 or even at age 36? Trust me. We're not going to be having the same conversation about Luka 10 years from now. What LeBron has done in his career to still continue to be this effective of a player is absurd. And one of the best players in the world is Luka Doncic. Yes, Luka should have the ball in his hands, and Luka should be dictating what happens. Now, there are times where I will say Luka's taken too many shots, too many bad shots. He's not looking out for enough people. He's not trying to get Austin Reeves in the flow, which is important to Lakers winning. So I think to this comment here, which the conversation was, somebody had a comment earlier, and I think this is what John Wayne is referring to, is that, well, Luka hogs the ball a lot and is, plenty selfish. Why aren't you talking about that with Luka? I think this more has to do with where the Lakers are sitting today. If I put together a recipe of success, let's play this out here. Are the Lakers better off winning a game with the ball in Luka's hand or with the ball in LeBron's hands? I think everybody would say it would be Luka. All right, let me find another one here. Do the Lakers have a better chance of winning a game with AR getting 25 or LeBron getting 25? I think we'd say they're better off with AR getting 25. This isn't a shot at LeBron. I hate how people try to look at this as it's a shot at LeBron. Lakers are trying to win basketball games. They're trying to stay at the number 3 seed in the Western Conference. They're trying to beat teams like Denver and Houston and some of these other matchups coming up. What's the best recipe in order to do that? Luka's got to be the best player on the floor. AR's got to be the second most effective player on offense for the Lakers. And LeBron has to be the guy that says, what do you need me to do? I'm that Swiss Army knife. You want rebounds. You want assists. You want me out of the way. You want me making the extra pass. You want me to be a little bit more aggressive on offense. Tell me what you need, and I'm going to provide it. And a lot of the times that he's able to do that, these other players need the ball in their hands, and they're more on-ball effective than LeBron, which LeBron could still be effective off the ball. It's a good point, John Wayne, and I appreciate the super here. Let's keep it going here. This is what Devin Booker earns with 34, 70. Murray 57. Jalen we get 4 years, 323, and 80 million a year, and AR only 35. Okay, now I think I understand what this conversation is. This conversation is about how much these players should get, how much these players earn compared to AR. And I think what you're trying to say here is AR is not making enough money compared to these other players. All right, let me ask you this question. Who's more proven in the NBA? Devin Booker or Austin Reeves? Not even a conversation. Let's not move past that. Who's more proven in the NBA? Jamal Murray, champion Jamal Murray, the second best player on a championship team, or AR? Not even a conversation. Of course, it's Jamal Murray. All-star Jalen Brunson or Austin Reeves? It is still Jalen Brunson, who's the best player on a playoff team. He is the best player on the New York Knicks. So I don't think these are good comps. I don't think there are better comps probably out there to make. I don't think these are the comps to be had. All right, let's keep moving here. Let's get some more conversations in here. LeBron slander comes from old guys who sit in a recliner at home with a big belly and their head tilted forward with glasses, sitting on their nose so they can see with the screen enlarged to 40 font size. I have no idea. No idea what that means. I think there's a lot of youngsters that have LeBron slander, not the old guys. I think old guys probably have more of an appreciation for LeBron because they've watched the game for 50 years and they understand what LeBron has done and they understand how difficult it is for LeBron to have accomplished what he's accomplished over this course of X amount of years. No, I think you got it wrong. I think the slander, I think the slander comes from a lot of the younger, maybe I'm wrong on this, but my assumption is the slander comes from a younger generation that maybe truly doesn't appreciate what LeBron has done over his career and what he's done for the league and everything else. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's my assumption here on that one. Walking my dog on Colorado Boulevard right now. Love my city. Pasadena is phenomenal. Pasadena really, really is. Pasadena is ridiculous. All right, well, stop by. I'll be there. Car coffee. Coffee's on me. All right, let's get a couple more in here. And then I want to go to this. Can Mark Walter hire Buzelis to sit courtside and trash talk Luka in the postseason? Not a bad idea. It's a good idea. Or you could just ask a fan who's sitting courtside to talk negatively about Luka, and then everything else will kind of handle itself there. All right, let's keep going here. Lakers got the Nuggets tomorrow, so a big game coming up. I've said this before, that the West is, obviously separated so closely here. We know just how close all these teams are. So let me just give a quick little background for tomorrow's game. Lakers are taking on the Nuggets, 5:30 tip-off, and Nuggets now sitting at 41-26. They did win yesterday. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They got wins over the Celtics, the Jazz, the Lakers, the Rockets, and the Spurs. They got 2 losses to the Thunder, a loss to the Timberwolves, and a loss to the Knicks. So just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. Looks like Peyton Watson is out for the game tomorrow when the Lakers take on the Denver Nuggets. I don't know about Aaron Gordon. I know he didn't play yesterday. Does that mean he's playing tomorrow? He's only played in 3 games since returning from his hamstring injury on March 6th. And I don't know if that's like he's good to go, or he's got a bigger injury, but that poor man has not been able to be healthy. And I've talked to you guys about how important he's going to be for them if they're going to make any run in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens to Aaron Gordon. But for the Lakers, it's as big as it gets tomorrow night. Whoever wins tomorrow also owns the tiebreaker. So tomorrow counts as 2 games. That's a 2-game swing tomorrow. If you beat the Denver Nuggets, you not only gain a game in the standings, but you gain another game because of the tiebreaker. If you lose, obviously it's a 2-game swing for the Denver Nuggets, and then you go on this really tough 6-game road trip that you got coming up, where the first 4 are going to be really difficult. So that's the Lakers. That's the Nuggets coming up tomorrow. That's going to be obviously incredibly fun. And I think for everybody out here, I'm sure everybody's looking forward to that game. By the way, something else to keep in mind, right after that game, we'll go live and we'll get a chance on a Saturday night to react to that game. Then we'll all chill on Sunday with no Lakers game. All right, I got a clip I want to play for everybody. By the way, this is going to be a little bit of our NBA stories. I'm going to tie this all in together. Erik Spoelstra, Bam Adebayo. The big topic this week was Bam dropping 83. Here's what I said. And I want to play both of these clips here real quick because they're both defending all the criticism that came with dropping the 83. Here's what I said from the beginning, and I want to say it again. What Bam Adebayo did, getting 83 points, is one of the most remarkable performances we'll ever see in the history of the NBA. It was also gimmicky. I'm sorry, it was. I mean, for him to have 60-something through 3 quarters, for him to have 70 with 9 minutes left to play is absolutely absurd, unbelievable, amazing, should be appreciated. The way the game ended was gimmicky. That was my opinion earlier. I'm not coming off my opinion. Listen to Erik Spoelstra, who's talking about it and trying to kind of defend it. By the way, if you're trying to defend something and there's that many people talking negatively about that accomplishment, obviously something must have happened. Take a listen to Erik Spoelstra.
I apologize to absolutely no one. Period. And going into the game, it's a Tuesday night game against a team where they're not playing for anything, where their organization is trying to lose. We've already lost a game, in that kind of situation. We have players that are sitting out, and I spoke to Bam about, I want, as our best player and team captain, for him to be locked in and ready. And he sure was.
All right. That's one way of obviously explaining what happened. That's coming from Erik Spoelstra. I think where people are losing here, and I don't even know if I need to play the Bam clip. Let's play the Bam clip. Let's throw this in here real quick. I think where maybe Spoelstra is losing, and I think what Bam Adebayo said as well. We'll listen to Bam. Let's listen to both of them, and then I'll give my opinion. Let's listen to Bam.
Coaches, I mean, if you're in
We'll just
my
play
shoes,
like 30 seconds of it.
First of all, y'all are blaming me. You should be blaming the head coach. Get that first. I was not the one letting me go one-on-one the whole game until I had 70. Then you started to send a double. At that point, I got 70 with 9 minutes left to go in the game. You think I'm not going for it? Like
Nobody had any issue with Bam going for it. I don't have an issue with Bam going for it. I think Bam should have gone for it. And if I'm being honest with you, Bam breaking the record and passing Kobe, it's all good. I mean, the records are made to be broken. Nobody had any issue with that. I think what Erik Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo, the only frustration people had was towards the end of the game where you're missing free throws on purpose. You're fouling to get extra possessions. Again, like I said, it became a little gimmicky. That's all. Let Bam earn his credit. Guys, it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, and it wasn't a guard. I don't care who he did it against. That's still another NBA team out there. 70 with 9 minutes left to go. But how they needed to get to 83, those final couple of minutes, it was gimmicky. That's all. That's it. It's okay. I think everybody can have their opinions and their thoughts on that. The end was gimmicky. You don't even have to have a Kobe. This doesn't have to be a Kobe reference or this player did that. I'm sure Kobe was chasing to get to 80. Of course he was. Wilt was chasing to get to 100. Of course he was. But how Miami played it at the end, there was some gimmicks towards it. That's all. I think Erik Spoelstra doesn't have to apologize. Nobody's asking him to apologize. He doesn't have to apologize. Bam Adebayo definitely doesn't have to apologize. But we could also kind of give our opinion and our thoughts based off of what we saw. All right, a couple stories around the NBA, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. Denver beat San Antonio yesterday. I mentioned no Wemby, 136-131. Jamal Murray with another monster game. It's kind of just what Jamal Murray does. Jokic with a monster game as well. Thunder beat the Celtics yesterday, 104-102. SGA 35, Jaylen Brown 34. There's a quote that was going on around Twitter. It was actually a clip. And it was SGA drawing a foul and Jaylen Brown saying, "That's not basketball." I loved it. Jaylen Brown calling out SGA. That's not basketball. There's way too many times guys are trying to draw fouls. I see the Lakers doing it. There's times Luka takes a shot and I'm like, yeah, that's not a basketball play. You're just trying to get to the line. I wish the NBA didn't reward these players as much for trying to draw fouls, but the clip was phenomenal. Thunder beat the Celtics 104-102, really close game. SGA breaks Wilt Chamberlain's record for most consecutive games, scoring 20 or more points with 127 straight games. It was a record that stood for 63 years. Anyone breaking Wilt Chamberlain in a record, pretty damn impressive. Let's just say that doesn't typically happen. Let's just say that definitely doesn't typically happen. All right, weekend preview is presented by Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. That's the website to go to. A couple of games we got going on tonight to keep an eye out. Suns at the Raptors. Pelicans at the Rockets. Just naming off games that would affect the Lakers in the standings. Timberwolves at the Warriors. Minnesota's been struggling. Tomorrow, obviously, we know the Lakers got the Denver Nuggets. Any other good games tomorrow coming up? No, that's it. Spurs got a game that they're playing. Actually, that's a good game. Hornets at Spurs. All right, final thing we're going to do before we get out of here, we're going to read some of your comments, and then we are going to call it a day. Let's see what we got here. Man, LA rides for Kobe hard, respect, but 83 points is impossible to get without a team effort and coaches' best intentions for team morale. I have a difficult time kind of having this conversation. If you were good with how he got that 83, it's all good. No problem. If you had no problem with it, no issue there. To me, what was most impressive was the fact that he was able to do it, and he's a guard. He's not that he's a forward and he's not a guard. Obviously, guards are going to have the ball in their hands and everything else, so that one is a little bit different for me. I think that part is definitely impressive. Against the tanking team, I don't really care what team you did it against. if you did it against the San Antonio Spurs, that's more impressive. It would never happen. But it's still an NBA team, so I don't know what you want me to tell you, but there's nothing you could do in regards to that. All right, final couple of comments and then we're done. 83. That's just crazy. LeBron, let me get this one. LeBron finally realizes Father Time is still undefeated. LeBron put up a great challenge, though, if no juice involved. All right. I wouldn't even say this. I would say this to this comment. I would say that he beat Father Time. He beat Father Time because he's in his 23rd year in the NBA. Nobody's ever done that. And he's still putting up statistically phenomenal numbers. Not sitting on the end of the bench doing a farewell tour, even in his 23rd season. All right, my people. $1.05 today. That's what we did. We got a member show coming up at 10 a.m. If you're not a member, please consider it. All you got to do is hit that join button and you can become a member. It's $3 a month. We do a member show at 10 a.m. every Friday. Talk about a lot of different things. We don't just talk about Lakers basketball, whatever's on the topic. So I'm looking forward to doing that with everybody. If you're not a member, all good. But if you are a member, coming up at 10 a.m. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. I will see you guys tomorrow after the Lakers take on the Denver Nuggets from Los Angeles. And we'll do our post-game show after that. Have a great weekend. See you tomorrow night. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your Friday as well.